Some children in Apeatse have gone mute after last Thursday's explosion in the town. We'll look at how to help them and also tell you about a 1-month-old baby who survived a building collapse. Minority Chief Whip declares there are no guarantees there will not be another violent clash in Parliament as it emerges. The Speaker of Parliament may once again be absent when the controversial E-levy is retabled for consideration.
So long as people want to alter the rules, you can never guarantee that there will be no what we call confusion in the chamber. It's not possible. But the reason is that why will you see sometimes fists in the American Congress after over 200 years of practice?
We have exclusive details on attempts by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to get NDC MPs for an emergency consultative talk Thursday. Also in business, no data protection licenses, no government contract. That's the new directive from the Data Protection Commission to businesses. We'll hear from its Executive Director.
To demand the data protection license in order for, especially those in the private sector, to be able to take on contracts. So the PPA is now working with us to expect contract holders to have their data protection license.
These are headlines for today's edition of Joy News Prime. We're live on DSTV, channel 421. GoTV, it's 144. This is your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. I'm Ernest Mini. Stay tuned for details. Hello again, thanks for joining us. They have lost their homes, farms, and other landed property. Their social and spiritual lives have also been affected. But it is also emerging that their children cannot speak, while others persistently scream at night. That's the latest in the series of stories on the aftermath of the Apeatse explosion. But as my colleague Maxwell Ababa reports, there's a silver lining amidst the grim. A 1-month-old baby miraculously escaped death after a building collapsed on her.
Baby Abna crying as a mother, Janet Amate, tries to lull her to sleep. Janet is waiting for the medical team at the St. Michael's Catholic Church to dress her baby's wounds. Injuries she sustained after she was pulled from the collapsed building. Her mother tells me she was washing outside when the explosion happened. She says she was at home washing when they were alerted to switch off all the electrical gadgets. Shortly after that, the explosion happened. She says her daughter got injured after the building collapsed on her, with the structure also engulfed by fire. Baby Abner's grandmother, Abna Jisiwa, says they lost everything after Thursday's explosion. She says life will not be the same after they leave the shelter. She was at the farm when the incident happened. She sells underwears, noodles at night, and also a farmer. She says they lost everything after the explosion. They need support. Money for food will be a problem when they leave the shelter. The Psychiatric Association of Ghana on Monday conducted a mental health assessment of the affected persons. Amongst others, its preliminary findings revealed children who reportedly scream at night and children who have gone mute since the explosion. The association is calling on Ghanaians to put resources together to avert what it describes as a potential mental health catastrophe in Apeatse.
Now, Dr. Collins Ojiman is National President of the Ghana Psychological Association and a lecturer at the Psychology Department of the University of Ghana. He led the association in similar disaster assessment and interventions, including the June 3rd fire and flood disaster, the Apeatse murder, and also in the atomic blast. He joins us live via Zoom for a quick conversation on this story. I'm grateful that he could join us. First of all, this is the aftermath of the incident. Is this normal for such disasters?
Well, this is not strange. Usually when we do have such disasters, it is not uncommon for survivors especially to experience some of these challenges as reported by our colleague psychiatrists who went to the scene on Monday. If you look at the history, from May 9th disaster through Malcolm disaster, June 3rd fire flood disaster. If you look at Apeatse, and even recently look at the Bujumbura one, which we are still preparing to support the community. Look at the Apam drowning disaster. A common thread is that certainly some individuals get affected. Those who survive, those who lose their loved ones, rescue or emergency workers, those who are supporting relief efforts. And if you think about the fire service, if you think about the police, if you think about other agencies who are to ensure the safety of the community, these people go through traumatic experience because of what they see, what they experience, and what have you. So it is not uncommon that we are getting these reports from the initial assessment done by our colleagues.
Dr. Ojiman, explain to us how this plays out, especially among children.
Well, you know, children are among the vulnerable groups in society. And whenever we get such disasters, they are helpless. They may not have the initiative. Even the noise alone, the decibel unit of noise that keeps blasting left and right, could also affect their level of reasoning, and inactions and actions of theirs could be disastrous for them as well. Now, what we don't know, how far have they been affected? What may be going on in the minds of these young ones? They may be having vivid flashes of memory, some of them who were close to the incident. The flashing of light, dead bodies being splitted into two, left and right. All these ones potentially may be affecting these ones. So it is expected that those who were close to the scene may have sleeping challenges. Some may even be screaming and talking while they are sleeping.
Yeah.
Others may not also be able to sleep. But we need to do thorough assessment to be able to ascertain who are experiencing what particular challenges, psychologically speaking.
It's been 6 days since the incident happened. Given the magnitude of the explosion, are we within good time to begin some treatment?
Ideally, a disaster of this nature is quite different. If you look at the Apam drowning disaster and other disasters we've recorded in recent years, you could move to site together with the rescue team, like fire service, to ensure that the community is safe. In the case of Bogoso Apeatse one, you know, it has to do with dynamite. Simply put, for kids to understand, something like a bomb. So you could not have moved to the site immediately after the incident. We needed experts, safety experts, security experts, fire service personnel to ensure that indeed the site is safe for all those who may want to go into the community to provide support services. So that is why we needed to hold on a bit, get clearance from these safety experts and security colleagues. And once the clearance came through over the weekend, Yes, we are ready to move on site so we'll be able to support the community.
And viewers should forgive us for that technical hitch there. We'll correct that so we can have a smooth connection to Dr. Agyeman. But Dr. Agyeman, that has been corrected now. For now, we know about children who have been affected, some unable to speak, others screaming persistently at night. Do you think that psychological services should be extended to the rest of the population?
The presence of our colleagues, the Psychiatric Association of Ghana, was just an initial assessment. Tomorrow, a well-coordinated team will be moving to the community.
Okay.
We have psychologists who are moving to the community. Some psychiatrists will join us. Some nurses, mental health nurses within the community are joining us. And depending on the initial assessment, after tomorrow, another set of colleagues, after we analyze the trends that we are observing, another set of colleagues will move to the community so that we can give tailored support to the individual families and survivors who are involved. You know, if you look at this particular disaster, people are being moved from their locations to different settlements. Some may move to shelters and what have you. How are they even going to adjust? Some may have lost their properties, and their concern is not about the blast, but perhaps their hard-earned property that they worked so hard to achieve.
Indeed.
That may be their concern. It's like a farming community. It will surprise you that someone may have lost a pet. Let's say a dog that may have been doing a lot of hunting for their family. And that is a biggest loss. And this in itself can trigger a lot of anxiety on the part of some of the individuals.
Very well. And so as you move in there, we'll definitely be on the ground with you to find out what are the issues that are coming out and how indeed they will be responding to the treatment. I'm grateful for your time. That's Dr. Collins Agyeman, who is the National President of the Ghana Psychological Association. Let's go to Parliament now. It's emerging that the Speaker, Alban Badmin, may be absent once again when the controversial E-levy is retabled for consideration next week. Now, the last time the Speaker was absent during the E-levy consideration, it led to violent clashes among MPs on the floor of Parliament. Joy News is learning the Speaker is due for another medical review this weekend. So the Speaker was away in Dubai for medical care in December, compelling the NPP MP for Bekwai, Joe Osei-Owusu, to act as Speaker, depriving him of a crucial vote in approving the E-levy. Now, Mr. Osei-Owusu's attempt to vote triggered a period of violence that left some MPs injured. In a yet-to-be-aired interview on PM Express, Minority Chief Muntaka Mubarak has revealed that the Speaker is due to travel for his routine medical checkup and will not likely be around when the consideration for the E-levy resumes.
I'm sorry that sometimes I put some fine details. Everybody in leadership, unless you pretend not to know, you know Speaker has to go for his review.
Okay.
Are you going to waste all the time until Speaker leaves for his review? Then you now turn again and say, you see the Speaker, he's not willing to help the government.
When is he due for his review? The next one?
So far as I'm concerned, it's this weekend. Unless something has changed.
Or your other colleagues, they don't know that?
That's what I'm surprised. For them to say they don't know this.
Biche doesn't know.
How will he say he doesn't?
Because health matters. Was it communicated at the leadership meeting?
Because you see, that is another problem. Whether the Speaker is on your side or opposite, if you have business, you go discuss the Speaker. Speaker, we have this. We'll be grateful for this if you could ring fence it to be there. Look, when I was the governor with Speaker Duajao, the Speaker, I'll go and say to Muntaka, because of this, that I cannot be around this thing. Then I'll quickly ask Jogate. I'll fall on Batnodro and Jogate, and we'll program. Sometimes weeks ahead, Jogate is alive. Go and ask him. We'll program and say, for next week, Speaker is going to this. So we want to beg you, so if you can look at it and pencil it down in your your diary. That is when you are efficient.
So Speaker will not be there next week.
So if Speaker is not there, and then you come and then you are putting blame on Speaker, are you being fair?
I mean, I keep coming.
That's what
I keep coming back to the question because
that is why I keep saying that.
What you said,
unless something is going to change, I know he'll be his review. His next review.
This weekend.
This weekend.
Which takes him out of the equation for next week.
A week or two.
For at least the time that has been scheduled according to the paper that was read on the floor by the majority leader. He won't be there next week if he keeps to that schedule.
If he keeps to that schedule. And who do you blame? Even sincerely, don't you see clearly as leadership failure?
Now, Muntaka Mubarak was also emphatic. He cannot guarantee there will not be another clash on the floor of Parliament next week if whoever acts as Speaker attempts to vote again while Mr. Badbin is away for his medical review.
Look, it's very shameful, it's very painful, it is very unfortunate, and we keep apologizing to the extent that I even said that, look, the way we apologize, Ghanaians will not even take us seriously. As long as people want to alter the rules, you can never guarantee that there will be no what we call confusion in the chamber. It's not possible. But the reason is that why will you see sometimes fists in the American Congress after over 200 years of practice? Why will you see it in the Commons? Why will you see it in other parliaments that are much, much older than ours? Anything that happens on the floor of Parliament, when it comes to its processes, it's a closed book. You can't contest it anywhere. So because of that, if you allow it to happen, that's it. You are out. So because of that, it makes it extremely difficult when the rules are being, altered to favor a certain situation.
So the point to notice, if the majority side next week, assuming the Speaker goes on his review, and Joseph sits, and Joseph has, by the way, has already interpreted the Constitution to say he can vote.
Yeah.
If that plays out again, you say there are no guarantees that we can't expect disturbance on the floor.
I can bet you will resist that.
Okay.
After that, we will resist.
Every means possible?
Well, I really wish our resistance will not lead to the exchange of blows, but we will do everything to prevent that from happening. And I pray that we don't get there where it becomes necessary for us to say that we are going to resist by every means possible. I mean, it's not my prayer, but one thing that I can tell you, for a sitting Speaker to be sitting there and come saying that I'm coming down to vote, that will be too difficult for our side to take.
You want to catch that full interview on PM Express right after this bulletin at 9 p.m. Let's go to Zoom and speak to the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman. Doc, thank you for joining us. We have been warned that there could be another showdown. What do we do?
Well, I guess what we need to do is what Honorable Muntaka has been talking about. I know the Right Honorable Speaker has been in town, and we all saw him yesterday at the first sitting, first meeting of the second sitting. I know there are issues in Parliament, particularly between the majority side and the minority side, and sometimes the Speaker is drawn into it, of course, because he's from the NDC's talk and so on. But I think whatever it is, we need to find a way to make sure that maybe the calendar of Parliament, particularly critical issues like this, will be worked around the presence of the Speaker. Because once the Speaker is not there, there is no way that any key legislation that requires a vote is going to pass, because it's going to be 137, 137, and that is deemed to have completely collapsed. So I think, as Honorable Muntaka was indicating, yes, there are issues, but it goes back to the consensus and the discussion, the dialogue that we've been talking about all this while. Yeah. I believe if there was that dialogue, there was some consensus, perhaps it might not be difficult to sit down and have a conversation with the Speaker and try to arrange schedules in such a way that they revolve around, because he has a health issue that cannot wait. But perhaps any other vote or maybe piece of legislation could wait, but human life cannot wait if it needs attention. And that is why it will be very, very important. You know, I would have thought, in fact, my hope was that, you know, during this week, the bill was going to come to Parliament and the Speaker is there, then comfortably the bill will be passed because the NDC would have 137, the MPP would have 138. We will see this bill passed without any event and without any confusion.
The confusion, as we already know, stems from the interpretation on the standing orders as to whether or not Joe Osei-Owusu, when he assumes that seat, can vote. He has interpreted it as, having the power to still vote because he's still a member of Parliament. What do you think? What is your take, first of all, on this? And how do you think it should be resolved whilst we have the Speaker around?
Well, I mean, once we have the Speaker around, once we have the Speaker around, this issue is a non-issue. But once the Speaker is not around, it becomes an issue. And for me personally, I think my reading of the standing orders and the Constitution, Honorable Joe Osei-Owusu could be counted as a member of Parliament for the purposes of quorum. Yeah. I mean, that's just my interpretation. But when he presides, and there is a ruling that has to be voted on, I think I have difficulty seeing him be part of, voting on an issue that he is presiding over. That is where the difficulty is. And I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. So until we get a clear interpretation, maybe by the Supreme Court, and that's not going to come tomorrow. So until that is done, I think that's the situation we have on our hands. Now, and if the NDC is sending a very clear signal that if it repeats, their action is going to be repeated, then we are in for a very rough ride.
Now, Dr. Draman, finally, we know that the Finance Minister is in talks with some members of Parliament for the other side, actually, to consult with them still on this controversial E-levy. Would you advise that whilst the Speaker is away, they pull the brakes on this vote and await his return in order to transact business on this particular one?
Yes, that's on one condition. That is, if the discussion with members of Parliament, particularly those from the opposition, the minority side, if the discussion with the Finance Minister is not fruitful, then I think I would advise that if the bill can wait, let the bill wait, let the Speaker come back, and let the vote be taken, and let the MPP get his way, because it will have a one-person advantage. But if the bill cannot wait, and then the Speaker is not there, the whip has already sent a very clear signal. Perhaps maybe some negotiation behind the scenes might allow them. But you see, whoever is going to negotiate with the minority right now, they are going to say, if somebody is trying to break the rule or abuse the Constitution in their view, they cannot take it. And I don't know how they can be convinced otherwise. And that is where the difficulty is.
Indeed, this is very difficult. But Dr. Draman, I'm grateful that you could join us on Joy News Prime. Hopefully, if they're listening, something will be done to avert any fiscal exchanges on the floor. Let me take you now to the Electoral Commission, because the chairperson of the EC, Jean Mensah, and her two deputies, Dr. Bosman Asare and Samuel Tete, have filed a suit at the Supreme Court against the Fix the Country convener, Oliver Barker-Vormawor. The Chief Justice and the Attorney General are also named as defendants in the case that seeks to halt the ongoing impeachment proceedings against the trio. Now, Mr. Vormawor, in January 10, on Facebook, has shared a press statement indicating that he, together with 45 others, had petitioned the presidency demanding the removal of the said officials for their failure to organize parliamentary elections for residents of Central Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, and Lepe. Kweku Asante with our legal desk joins us via Zoom with details of this suit. Kweku, first, what is the background to this story, the suit that we have today?
Ernest, so just as you stated, this issue has to do with the SAL areas and the inability of the Electoral Commission to hold elections for them and the parliamentary elections. We know that those presidency but did not vote in the parliamentary election. And so as we speak, SAL is without a member of parliament, and those issues have been going on for a while. And so Oliver Baka-Bomawo and 45 others under the umbrella of Fix the Country petitioned the president for an impeachment procedure to be commenced against the Electoral Commissioner and her 2 deputies. And so these processes have been going on for now, and it is not clear because we know that the Supreme Court actually has a ruling in the past that actually says that if you are trying to get a person of a higher judicial nature removed from office, then you cannot display the contents of the petition. So what they put out was a press statement and not necessarily the content, because the content we have not seen and it has not been made public yet. But they actually put out a statement saying that the Electoral Commissioner and her 2 deputies must be removed because they did not conduct election for the people of Insal in terms of the parliamentary election. And so those are the specific issues that forms the background for this current matter before the courts.
Now, could you share with us the details of this suit filed by the deputy EC chairs and the reliefs they are seeking?
So, Ernest, the notable issue that has been raised by the Electoral Commissioner and her 2 deputies are that the Chief Justice must actually just stop looking into the matter because of the breach of procedure and the breach of the Supreme Court's earlier ruling by the Fix the Country. And so should this suit be upheld by the courts, what this will mean is that the current impeachment processes being held against the Madam Jean Mensah, Dr. Bosman Asari, and the other deputy will have to be actually be stopped. And let me read some of the reliefs that have been filed in the court. They want a declaration that upon a true and proper interpretation of Article 1468 of the 1992 Constitution, the defendant's publication, that is Oliver Baka-Bomawo, in the media, through traditional and social media, the contents of the petitioner's petition to the president is a breach of the Constitution, the first. They also want a determination that upon prima facie case arising out of the contents of the said petition being coming out, then the the petitioners had actually displayed some level of bad faith and were actually just chasing the wind. They were trying to actually defame the electoral commissioners and all these issues that have come up. And so the crux of the issue of these suits that has been filed by Madam Jean Mensah and her 2 deputies is to stop the Chief Justice from actually just going forward from looking into the petition because of the breaches that the alleged Fix the Country conveners have had themselves involved by virtue of allegedly publishing these materials on social media.
Kweku, thank you very much for bringing us those details. Now, as part of its Golden Jubilee anniversary, the celebrated Ghanaian music group Joyful Way Incorporated is adapting a health facility in need in the country. The selected health facility will be renovated and put in a state expected of a modern health facility. This was revealed by the president of the group, Stephen Otu, who has been speaking at a media launch of the anniversary. There's more in the following report.
At the media launch of the 50th anniversary, Joyful Way Incorporated has been recounting its story and evaluating their impact on society. Group President Stephen Otu has been explaining a number of projects they will be executing as part of its effort to give back to the society.
So it's anniversary year, and one of the things that this anniversary is anchored on is to make sure that we build a legacy for the coming generations. And so we intend to launch what would be the Joyful Way evangelism track that would be able to go out, be more mobile, going out from villages to villages upon call to go and preach the word of God. We intend as well to, adapt some health center that we are going to call the Joyful Way Health Center, and then go there, renovate it, support the people who are there as part of our legacy project. This will be one of the things we'll do externally. But internally, we'll be telling our story in our book, in our documentary, and in many other things as well.
According to him, the group has made significant contribution to society since its founding some 50 years ago, and promised that the group will not neglect its role in development and change.
Joyful Way has brought a lot of changes in the Ghanaian contemporary music. We started to the introduction of instruments, the playing of drums and other things in music. And you can see since in the days we started in 1970s, we can see a lot of contemporary introductions into the music industry, and we continue to do that. But we do all of this still anchored in the Word of God, and that is what makes Joyful Way very beautiful and impactful.
Also at the launch, the chairman of the board of directors of Joyful Way Incorporated, Samuel Ewol, outlined a number of activities to mark this anniversary.
So our 50th anniversary celebration is going to be a year-long celebration, and we have had the official media launch today. Following from today, we're going to have an array of activities. We're going to have internal conferences, external conferences, engagement with media, have people who are in the gospel music space equally come together to deliberate on some of the very pertinent issues that confront gospel music in this country. We're going to have concerts, crusades. We're going to engage, as you know already, Joyful Way engages a lot with the youth, and so we're going to have youth engagements at the senior high schools and also at some of the churches where we have the youth. We're going to engage them to try and encourage them to hold fast to that which they have believed. We're also going to have fundraising concerts. We're going to have dinner and Thanksgiving service, and we're also going to have our flagship Explosion of Joy 2022, which will come off in December on the 26th of December this year, 2022. So we have a number of activities that have been planned along the way to help us. There will be the launch of our history book, there will be the launch of our song book, there will be the launch of our legacy projects, and many other things that are lined up. Our documentaries, we are having a documentary of where we have come from, how far we have come. All of that will be launched this year, and then we'll be telling the full story about the very beginnings of gospel music in this country, because Joyful Way is a pioneer in gospel music in this country.
50 years after its founding, Joyful Way Incorporated is celebrating the pioneering role of enduring character it has exhibited by staying focused on its core mandate of propagating the gospel through music, evangelism, and nurturing and impacting the youth. Mausi Numon and Tasha Michelle's report for Joy News.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me, and this minute still to come in business. No data protection license, no government contract. That's a new directive from the Data Protection Commission to businesses. We'll hear from its executive director.
To demand the data protection license in order for, especially those in the private sector, to be able to take on contracts. So the PPA is now working with us to expect contract holders to have their data protection license.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segments live here on Joy News Prime with me, Oreku Wampofo, ranking member of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Sports, Kobina Woyome, has attributed Ghana's poor showing at the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations to poor management and decision-making. Ghana were knocked out of the tournament after finishing bottom of Group C, and speaking on the floor of Parliament, the South Tongu MP believes useful lessons have to be learned from Cameroon.
Mr. Speaker, this disappointing development can be attributed to poor management of the team, right from coach selection, player selection, and poor coordination of pre-tournament preparations. Therefore, the poor performance on the field of play, such as player coordination, infighting, Technical deficiencies and confusion can only be attributed to poor management decisions by the leadership of the FA and government. Mr. Speaker, I want to believe useful lessons have been learned on the part of the FA from the outcome and therefore must not repeat itself. Ghana has made significant strides and also suffered its low moments in international football tournaments in the past, but none can be compared to the humiliating performance of the Black Stars as witnessed at the AFCON 2021.
Meanwhile, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu has urged Ghanaians to forgive the Black Stars after the team's abysmal performance in the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Cameroon.
Let's show sportsmanship. Let's show sportsmanship. You see, football, you win happiness, you lose happiness. That's what sportsmanship means. So we have to forgive the Black Stars and move forward. We must forgive the Black Stars and move forward. You see, Mr. Speaker, and to my senior, the Honorable Katie Hammer, when your milk pours down, can you take all of it back? You don't cry over spilled milk. So, Mr. Speaker, I think we must endeavor to find a heart of forgiveness for the Black Stars, for its management, and manage the transition. But task the minister and the FA to work to transition the coach, work to transition him. Because between now, you don't want us to blame you if Nigeria beats us or defeats us and say that their jollof was already better than ours. They have added football to it. That will be another trouble for you. But we necessarily must qualify.
Finally, Egypt are through to the quarterfinals of the Africa Cup of Nations after beating Ivory Coast by 5-4 on a penalty shootout. The game ended 0-0 in regular time. We're bringing you highlights of that match in the next hour.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Joy News Prime. Now, businesses without data protection license may not be able to bid for government contracts going forward. That's the directive coming through from the Data Protection Commission in collaboration with the Public Procurement Authority. Now, the Data Protection Act mandates all firms to obtain data protection license before beginning operations. There's more in the following report.
Speaking at a press conference to update journalists on the Data Protection Week, Executive Director of the Data Protection Commission, Patricia Edusaipoku, said the new order has become necessary to protect clients and the general public from data abuse since the country is embarking on many digital initiatives. According to her, obtaining a license from the Commission is a basic requirement for firms that deal in data collection for their daily activities.
Register with any regulator to be able to do your business, such as Bank of Ghana, such as the National Pensions Authority, or any other regulator for that matter, the NCA, they would demand your data protection license in order to renew your existing license or to register you anew. That way, if you haven't registered with the Commission, you find yourself needing to come and register with us during the course of the year or as soon as your license is due for renewal. That has also triggered a lot of business uptake for us because that is our way of, catching those who are under the radar. Another way is that we are asking other authorities to demand the data protection license in order for, especially those in the private sector, to be able to take on contracts. So the PPA is now working with us to expect contract holders to have their data protection license.
She has been elected to represent Ghana as president for the Africa Data Protection Agencies, a development that positions the country as a standard in the industry.
Ghana won the presidency of the Network of African Data Protection Authorities. So I, on behalf of Ghana, has become the president of all data protection authorities in Africa. We are obviously positioned as a nation as the trailblazer for this kind of work for the region. Ghana is setting the pace for the rest of the world to follow as far as data protection implementation of supervisory authorities' mandate is concerned. It puts us in a position to also set a good example for the region and to work with our key stakeholders to ensure that there's a proper standardized way of delivering the data protection mandate, to ensure a consistency of delivering and also setting the standard for the region by which the region will know what to do in terms of delivering the mandate.
The Commission will be engaging chief executives of data collection firms as part of the week's celebration in Accra.
Now, Ghana's exports were undervalued by an estimated $8.3 billion between 2011 and 2017. This is according to the research findings by a consortium, including the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research. There is more in the following report.
A study by a consortium, including the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, has revealed that Ghana's exports were undervalued by an estimated $8.3 billion between 2011 and 2017. The study, spanning 3 political administrations, also revealed that the country lost more than $2 billion in taxes due to the undervaluation of gold exports alone. ISE and its partners, including the Graduate Institute of Geneva, undertook the study as part of Curbing Illicit Financial Flow Research project funded by the Swiss Program for Research on Global Issues for Development. Here, a senior economics researcher at ISE and member of the research team, Dr. Ama Ahinikujo.
We estimated that gold was abnormally undervalued. I'm not sure whether you can see. Abnormally undervalued at about 8.3 billion USD at constant prices, and the base year is 2011. Our study was between 2011 to 2017. And in current prices, this is about 3.8 billion USD. This constitutes approximately 11% of the total value of gold exported during this period. The top 5 destination countries of these undervalued gold exports include major gold refining destinations including India, South Africa, United Arab Emirates, Switzerland, and Portugal, representing major gold refining, trading, and manufacturing destinations.
Senior research fellow at ISE, Fred Janku, is optimistic that if measures are put in place to reduce trade-related illicit financial flow, government will raise revenue to finance its major flagship programs.
The gold that Ghana exports, we get taxes from our gold sector, corporate taxes, about 25%. Of course, there are also royalties and so on. Now, if this gold is undervalued, what it means is that the country loses revenue because the taxes that we are supposed to be receiving, we don't get those taxes. So between 2011 and 2017, which is the period our study covered, we realized that about 7.8 billion Ghana cedis is undervalued every year, 7.8 billion Ghana cedis. Now, if you take about 25% of that, which is the tax that could have accrued to Ghana, that's about 1.8 billion Ghana cedis a year. Now, we are talking about E-levy, which is government trying to get more revenue. What it means is that if we are able to reduce this trade-related illicit financial flows by strengthening the governance system, the data management systems, the policy and regulatory environment, what it means is that we can get more taxes from these resources than we are getting now. What it means, government can then raise more revenue to be able to finance all the projects. We know that we have a huge infrastructure gap that we need to fill. We have flagship programs that Ghana has to finance. So we are arguing that this is one of the ways by which we can raise more revenue.
In 2017, gold accounted for 96.4% of total earnings from mineral exports from Ghana.
And you're still watching the business segment on Joy News Prime. We'll return after the short break.
Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. The National Labour Commission has dragged the University Teachers Association to court over its failure to call off the strike. Members of UTAG laid down their tools about 16 days ago over what they say is government's failure to honour its obligation. Among other things, UTAG wants government to reconsider the payment of its annual research allowance and a restoration of the 2013 interim market premium. UTAG has also resolved to continue with the strike until a solution to their concerns has been provided. But the NLC will have none of that. Ofosua Samoa is the Executive Secretary.
Yes, that's true. We have had to take that hard decision to go to the High Court to enforce our directive. Yes, it's been 2 weeks since the Commission directed the striking workers to call off the strike and resume work whilst negotiation continues. Their representatives, that's the national executives, then appearing before the Commission, assured the Commission to abide by this directive. Unfortunately, they got back, and the opposite was the situation. And it's been 2 weeks, like I said, and the Commission cannot sit there, give directives, and watch it flouted. So we've had to take the hard decision of enforcing our decision, a directive in court.
Just for emphasis and clarity, you're saying that when UTAG appeared before you, it was clear that it was going to obey the directive of the NLC.
It was not only clear by conduct, but expressly said they were going to oblige. So it's unfortunate, you know.
So when can we expect you to file and head to court?
The process has been filed already, and it's been fixed for the 3rd of February.
UTAG is expected to respond to...
to respond and appear before the court on the 3rd of February.
But the concern of UTAG is that you have not been fair to them in this process, which is why they have been quite adamant in adhering.
Of it will be determined by the court. If the court says we are not fair, we wholly accept it and apologize if need be. If we are fair to, then they should go back to the lecture hall and discharge their part of the bargain with their employers.
So the Graduate Students Association of the University of Ghana has issued a statement on this UTAG strike. They are asking government to expedite action on its negotiation with the association and also attend to their concerns. We'll be bringing you details of the statement. It says the Graduate Students Association of Ghana has noted with much concern and interest the protracted industrial strike by the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, which enters its 3rd consecutive week. The association would like to make the following statements concerning the strike action. We wish to passionately appeal to government to, as a matter of urgency, take immediate steps to meet the demands of UTAG to enable academic work resume. If the strike continues by statute, public universities would be compelled to shut down after 21 days of non-academic work. The negative impact of this impasse between government and the striking lecturers will not be felt by either of the parties involved as much as our members. Our research work have come to a standstill, tutorials and lectures have come to a halt. Academic work in general is in limbo, delaying the professional progress of our members. While we plead with government to expedite steps to call off the strike, we humbly appeal to UTAG to consider the plight of our members and resume work. It has the potential of affecting the academic calendar of the universities. Would also, through this medium, encourage all university students and researchers to stay calm, continue to learn and do all that is required of them as GRASAC, in collaboration with all other student associations, continue to advocate for the rights of students. It is the hope of GRASAC that government will respond swiftly to the resolution of this feud for academic work to be restored as soon as possible. The Legal Aid Commission says it needs over 200 more professionals of personnel added to its workforce to efficiently deal with the cases on its desks. According to the Commission, currently, one lawyer deals with 53 cases on a regular basis. This according to Administrator of Legal Aid Commission, Sylvester Nyaku, and he says this is untenable. They made this known when they met the Minister for Justice, Godfred Dame.
Minister for Justice and Attorney General Godfred Dame on Wednesday paid a working visit to the Legal Council for Law Reporting and the Legal Aid Commission. Highlighting their challenges, the Administrator for the Legal Aid Commission, Sylvester Nyaku, particularly made mention of their workload and a number of legal hands that do the work.
I think looking at our lawyers' strength, I think it's about 53 there. And we need to get more lawyers. Because with the opening of the new district, we need to put lawyers there. In fact, districts that have district courts, so they attend instead of they going traveling that distances to access legal aid or legal service. We need about at least about 200 lawyers. We need about 200 lawyers. If you get that, that can suffice for now.
Mr. Nyaku also requested that the commission is relocated to a permanent and more conducive office space.
The office space that we are talking about, we had a discussion with him, I think before Christmas. The building belongs to Council for Law Reporting, and we are more or less patching. We went around and then the offices are very congested. And like I indicated earlier, we needed to have established directives of the as the Act says. But because we don't have offices, we will not be able to establish the directives. Now when you go to the offices, we don't have the privacy. About 4, 5, 6 lawyers in the room with their clients. You go where she's in the same thing.
At the Council for Law Reporting, their major need was for the government to recruit 20 more people and their office renovated. Margaret Bukujechi is editor for the Council for Law Reporting.
For a start, we could even have 20 lawyers for now. I think it would help a lot, and we also need to increase the staff strength for our production. That's for the support team. We have court reporters, we have proofreaders, and so we need to increase the staff strength for those sections as well. Our compound, you see our building, yes, this leaves much to be desired because our place doesn't look too sightly.
The Minister for Justice and Attorney General Godfred Dame assured the groups their concerns will be dealt with promptly. He also emphasized his outfit's commitment to modernize the judicial service.
The building in which they operate in dilapidation virtually. So the part of the process is to ensure that we have a modern Attorney General's office fit for purpose is what I have undertaken to do to ensure that we complete the facilities that are at our disposal. We have this law house there, which has been under construction for the past 18 years. And since I came, we committed ourselves to its completion, and we have progressed so tremendously. The consultants at AESL assures me that the law house will be completed by the end of this year.
Godfred Dame hopes resolving these issues will help the justice system run efficiently. Ifua Apekua Boafo's report for Joy News.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has called for action to prevent domestic inequalities that led to the urban migration and creation of fertile grounds for conflict. Dr. Bawumia was speaking on behalf of the President during a debate on war in cities, protection of civilians in urban settings, presided over by Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre at the United Nations Security Council meeting at New York in the United States of America. Ghana became a member of the UN Security Council in January this year for a 2-year term. Dr. Bawumia indicates that the issue of poverty, which is an important element in urbanization, would need to be addressed to guarantee access to economic opportunities in all parts of the country.
Addressing the resilience of urban communities, the issue of poverty, which is an important element in urbanization, would need to be taken cognizance of and addressed. National initiatives would therefore need to be supported to equalize access to economic opportunities in all parts of a country, develop alternate and reinforcing urban communities, and manage the push and pull factors of migration that sometimes lead to unplanned urbanization outcomes and which sometimes create fodder for the intensification of such conflicts. 2018 data from the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs shows that the world is becoming increasingly urbanized, with 55% of the world's population living in urban areas and a rise to 68% expected by 2050. Asia and Africa, where most stabilization efforts are taking place, are expected to be the fastest areas of urbanization. The outbreak of conflicts would therefore have telling effects in view of the population densities of those two continents. Already, we have seen in recent years evidence of horrific effects of urban conflicts in places like Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, but also much earlier on the African continent in countries such as Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Cote d'Ivoire, where civil wars that took place had an adverse impact in the city context.
Health experts are calling for increased taxes on tobacco products. It is estimated that the economic cost and burden of smoking in Ghana is nearly 100 million cedis, making it a major public health concern. In a bid to reverse this trend, the Ghana Non-Communicable Disease Alliance says tariff measures ought to be taken in order to discourage patronage of the product. National coordinator of the alliance, Labram Musa, told Aisha Ibrahim on the polls that drastic measures must be taken immediately.
15, they've been talking about the fact that we need statistics, we need evidence. Okay. So the evidence was actually developed. Last year, we spent a lot of time and energy and we came out with this document, The Economics of Tobacco in Ghana. So this is looking at, the ecosystem of tobacco in the country, looking at what are some of the effects and what are some of the best strategies, including best world practices that Ghana can also learn from, especially in Kenya. In Kenya, in Gambia, in Rwanda, they have put together a very good tax system that is helping to reduce the prevalence of smoking and its related diseases, like non-communicable diseases, that is afflicting us, as a country, because we are told that 94,400 people die from tobacco-related, I'm talking about non-communicable diseases, and tobacco is one of the major risk factors for all the non-communicable disease that we know. But the point is that this commodity has no benefit. So why don't we look for a way of disincentivifying, the public, especially the youth and the poor? Because research also shows that, the taxes that they impose on tobacco is actually to protect the young ones and the poor. Who are, because if you have 20 pesos, the rich man will not bother about 20 pesos, but the commodity is so cheap, they're saying that children will now be initiating their habits and also to be enticing to use the product. And eventually, once you start using the product at the age of, at the teen age, then you become hooked to tobacco. The industry would not, and their interest is not on those who are already smoking. The interest is how do we get new clients, the young ones and those who have not smoked before. And that's why the attention has been on the shisha, because they come up with so many attractive commodities to attract the young ones, especially the university students.
Members of Parliament are asking the judiciary to emulate Speaker's shedding of colonial garments. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Badwin, ditched his usual ceremonial outfit on the opening of the first meeting of the third session. Now, he was clad in kente cloth over a white lace shirt and a crown whilst presiding over the House. Some members who were excited about the Speaker's new look agreed to emulate the Speaker's outfit going forward. Here are some MPs who spoke to Joy News.
Well, when I saw the Speaker, I was excited and happy because his appearance, even the visual of it, is very symbolic and made a statement. And I don't think anyone should be surprised that the Honorable Alban Badwin, who has always advocated for the customization and indigenization of whatever knowledge we acquire, has decided that it is time for us to break the yoke, for us not to be confined and be dictated to by our history, particularly the colonial history. And so when he sat down and he began to speak, he eventually got to explain in detail why he was dressed the way he has. And it is welcome. There is no reason why, as Ghanaians, as Africans, we should continue to dress according to what our colonial masters bestowed on us, not by will, but by compulsion. So I think it is welcome. And in fact, I am hoping that the Chief Justice would also then make the move. Because for many years, my good self and many others have felt that wearing the white wigs is part of the colonial legacy. And since we are independent, we have our own constitution. Yes, we started on, British common law, but we are now fully fledged. And in that context, there shouldn't be any reason why our lawyers and judges should be wearing wigs.
So they should abandon the wigs, abandon the...
They should. They should also be allowed to dress traditionally and go to court. They should be able to wear kente and wear the smock and wear a good African print.
See, but he dressed like a chief. Is it a chief of parliament now? Is that what it is? That's a symbolism?
Well, he is the speaker. And if we were to look at parliament as an institution, clearly he's the chief. So he's the chief.
This is my second term. I've not seen a speaker dressed this way. I'm here to see if there's any preferred or prescribed dressing for a speaker. If this is so, then it's new. And if it is not so, and he has liberty to showcase his culture, just as he has done, he dressed like a Togbi from the Volta region, showcasing so, then to me it's beautiful. I would say that it's something new, and if the parliamentary standards prescribes it, then it's absolutely in order.
Well, he made an admonition to the rest of the members in the House to also be identified in the Ghanaian culture way as MPs. Is this something that you'll be considering, dressing African, pure African?
I think historically it's not out of order. Right. I think the first parliament, there's history to the fact that there was some MPs dressed and wear kentes to parliament and stuff like that. The orientation they give to MPs when you come into parliament is prescribed dresses. Sometimes they go to the western sides and then also to your culture, the one where we wear.
You're watching Johnny's Prime with me, and we're taking a break. We'll return with more sports.
Good evening and welcome to the second part of the sports segment with me, Oriku Wampofo. Well, the big story coming in just a few minutes ago is that the Ghana Football Association have officially sacked Milovan Rajevac. In a statement released on the Football Association's website, they say that they have reviewed the technical reports submitted by all parties involved in Ghana's shambolic performance at the just ended Africa Cup of Nations tournament, and the Executive Council met earlier today and took into consideration all those reports and decided that it would be in the best interest of Ghana and Milovan Rajevac to end the relationship. The association thanks Milovan Rajevac and the management committee and then wished them the best in all their future endeavors. Now, the GFA say that they would also, in due time, reconstitute the technical team and management committee and make that public. They are currently in engagement with relevant stakeholders. Remember, Ghana's next match is a crucial one against Nigeria in the FIFA World Cup playoff. So we're bringing you details and analysis on who could possibly be the next Black Stars coach as and when these stories do come in. So keep your attention on Joy Sports, especially on social media, to know who is the next candidate for the Black Stars job. But let's still talk about football, and this time let's talk about the Africa Cup of Nations, where Egypt beat Ivory Coast 5-4 on penalties to reach the quarterfinals of the competition in Cameroon following a 0-0 draw in regular time. The North Africans got the upper hand in the shootout when substitute keeper Gabaski saved Eric Bailly's effort in the third round of spot kicks. To some football infrastructure development, because there has been a shortcutting for a construction of an AstroTurf in the Okaikwe constituency in the Greater Accra region. Joy Sports' Asare Vidiako was there and put together this report.
In 6 months' time, this pitch, located in the center of the Kaneshi Awudomi Junior High School, will undergo a massive facelift. Expect an ultra-modern AstroTurf adorned with spectator stands, fencing and floodlights. Addressing the media after the sword-cutting ceremony, Member of Parliament for Okaikwe South, Dakwa Newman, who is the brain behind the project, underlined the importance of the facility in the development of football in the area.
We all know the kind of talents we have in Kaneshi from this constituency, and I know this AstroTurf will go a long way because now it gives them an opportunity to play throughout the day. Even if those who have these talents, they go to school, when they close, even if it's an hour, they can come here to do a bit of training. So we know this will go a long way to push Okaikwe South football forward, and so we are all happy. We are very grateful to the contractors. We've seen the work they've done at other places, and we know they'll do an even better job. If there's a way to do an even better job than what they've done, we know they'll do that here. So we are just thanking them that they are on board. We are thanking everybody who actually plays a role in bringing this AstroTurf to life. We are thanking everybody, and we hope everybody puts in their best.
Wembley Sports Construction Company are contractors of the project. Here is Chief Executive Officer Robert Coleman.
The grass has been ordered already. We are poised to start work on Saturday. The machines, everything, like you can see, the stones have been brought on site to show that we are committed to this work. And the time span for us to finish is 6 months, and we want to adhere to that particular work plan. We are getting the grass from CC Grass in China. You know, when it comes to CC Grass, you cannot have it wrong. We are getting top-notch grass that will be installed here. So let me use this opportunity to commend the Member of Parliament for the area, Honorable Dakwa Newman, for her tremendous role in trying to lobby this project here. And let me also commend Ghana Gas. I think they have been very solid. This is the 7th AstroTurf that Wembley is constructing for them.
The AstroTurf, when completed, will be of benefit to students in the Okaikwe South constituency. Some of them spoke to Joy Sports.
We are very excited, and an AstroTurf is a new thing to all of us, and we hope that it's going to do a lot for us. We are going to improve in our sports and activities.
And I'm so excited that the AstroTurf will come to our school, and so we'll be able to improve in our sports.
The vision of Wembley Sports Company is to construct a state-of-the-art AstroTurf in every constituency in the country.
For more sports stories, you can visit myjoyonline.com/sports or follow us on social media at Joy Sports GH. My name is Ray Kwampofu, and business is up next.
Hello there, and welcome back to the business segment on Joy News Prime. Now, mining firm Gold Fields is set to invest more than $200 million in its mining activities in Ghana. This is part of plans to expand its operations in the country. Visiting Group Chief Executive of Goldfields, Chris Griffiths, tells Joy Business the move demonstrates the significant role government plays in the group.
Guess what happens with the next, so what we're doing is focusing on what our next potential big investment will be in Damang. We continue to invest in Tarkwa, so I guess when the right time comes, we'll be knocking on the door of government. But at the moment, I think we have, number one, a good relationship with government. These are tough times for governments across the world, but I think we're managing that relationship well. And when the time comes, we'll be seeking to extend our development agreement, but that's currently not necessary.
There's some kind of rallying for gold, and I don't know what you make of this, and how do you expect that to impact on your operations?
I think, if anything, what we're likely to see is, I think, a fairly stable gold price for some time. Because,
interesting.
But at current gold prices where they are, the company will be generating good cash flows, and that means, of course, the benefit to Ghana means that we'll continue paying taxes, we'll be able to pay royalties, we'll be able to pay dividends to the government for their 10% shareholding. and also the dividend withholding tax. And you put all that together means that actually we are paying more than 50% tax. I think most people don't sort of see how all these things add up. And if the prices remain strong, it means more taxes to the governments in the countries in which we operate. So,
what do you make of calls for? I mean, there are some who do not appreciate, and there are some who've argued that maybe the time has come for you to share some of these things that you've shared with us, with the public. There are still calls for more taxes to be paid by mining firms like yours in Ghana. What do you make of this call? Because some do not see these things that you're doing, and therefore they're pushing for more taxes to be paid to the state.
Look, I think both ourselves and government do have a role to explain to the general populace that actually the mining companies do actually pay very high taxes. And I think some people only look, for example, at the royalty or only look at the corporate tax, and they don't look at the combination of all of those. Remember, the government of Ghana has a 10% free carry in our business. So in addition to the corporate taxes, in addition to the royalties, the free carry, dividend withholding tax, you add all that together, means we pay more than 50% tax. One of the highest tax rates anywhere in the world is what we pay in Ghana. My message, of course, is to Ghana and to any government is actually through difficult times, it's very important to not chop and change the rules so that companies feel confident that they can continue to invest in countries because attractive mining jurisdictions attract capital, and actually over a long period of time the government gets much more, the people of the country get much more when you keep the rules stable.
Well, in a separate development, Goldfields Ghana has indicated it does not underdeclare its gold exports outside the country. This follows recent reports that the company over the years has been underdeclaring its exports. Joshua Motiti is the acting head of West African operations at Goldfields.
Goldfields is not supplied by the company in question. However, I think what we all are interested in is the completion of the investigation and learning whatever lessons we all need to learn out of it to improve on our practices. Like I said in my presentation, this is the first time in my 25 years of experience that something of this sort has happened, which indicates that our regulations around explosive handling, storage and transportation is actually quite watertight. So it would be good for us as an industry to learn from the investigation and see what else we could do to improve on the situation. With respect to Goldfields itself, we don't use the company in question you mentioned, so we don't expect any negative impact on our operations.
Statistical Social and Economic Research published a report that assessed exports over a long period, and it came out that gold was one. These were being underdeclared. Are you worried as a major player in this industry about this report?
To be honest, I haven't seen the report, so I can't really talk about the veracity of the report. What I can talk about is Goldfields. As a public listed company, we don't underdeclare production, period. And we are, participants in, initiatives on pay, declaration of whatever you pay. We're participants of that through the chamber. And our doors are really open for everybody to scrutinize what we produce and what we report. And I can tell you categorically that we don't underreport. And I'm not going to stay here and say others underreport because I do not know.
Well, away from the extractive sector, an information technology expert, Bruce Yena, has warned of the collapse of government's digitalization agenda if financial support and other resources are not provided to players in the industry. Now, according to him, government must provide incentives to the technology firms to help facilitate the digitalization agenda of the economy and stimulate growth. He spoke to Joy Business while announcing the closing date for the nominations of the Africa Technovate Awards Fair.
Following government's ambition to digitize the economy, an IT expert and CEO of IDEC Consultancies, Ambrose Yena, said financing the technology sector and improving facilities is the way to go. Speaking about the upcoming Africa Technovet Awards Fair, he expressed worry over the application deficiency of technology in the country, pointing out that the prevalence of these key challenges serve as hindrance to the total actualization of its advancement in the country. He therefore reiterated the need for collaborative efforts from government and other relevant stakeholders to support the industry.
The financing, which can be a challenge, but I think we're dealing with it. And then you have infrastructure development, the infrastructure financing, and then technical capacity. Do we have all the human resource in terms of people and skills area? So that is where we need to build human capacity. It requires all technology institutions, governments, political will for us to come together and work together and harness and exploit the best brains in these sectors to be able to chart some path for Africa.
On the company's effort to promote and reward IT innovators, Mr. Yena explained the essence of the award scheme, saying it will help showcase technology innovations in Africa and celebrate the brains behind them.
Develop this program, which we call the Africa Technovet Awards and Fair. We noticed that there hasn't been any continent-wide awards ceremony for top-performing ICT and technology companies. There are technology companies that have been operating for 10, 15 and more years, delivering quality services throughout Africa. And some of them are not even known because we don't celebrate them. Their achievements are not trumpeted. And they are young and innovative and creative Africans. Also coming up with a lot of ideas, brilliant ideas and programs and digital solutions. And there's no support for them. So IDEC Digital decides this year to do an award ceremony. 15th of February, we close the nominations. The portal is closed. And then we do the assessment.
Pledging support for the event, a multiple award-winning artist, Wiala, shared the contributions of technology in the creative arts industry and promised the audience of a thrilling performance at the awards.
I am very happy to be part and performing because as a young musician, I know the importance of the digital world. And this program is just everything Africa. Africa moving forward. Africa catching up with the rest of the world digitally, and even we can even take the lead. Yes, and that's what my music does. I try to cut across and tell the African story in a positive light and see how we can help ourselves and tell our stories ourselves. So I'm very happy to be part, and I'll definitely be entertaining a lot of people. So if you are coming, you better wear your dancing shoes. If I don't wear shoes, we do it the African way. We go rah.
Ifwa Apreku Abuafo's report for Joy Business.
And it's a wrap for Business on Joy News Prime with me, Blessed Sugan. We leave you with some business stories from around the world.
And that's our show for tonight. Many thanks for your company. Please log on to myjoyonline.com. You have many stories there. My name is Ernest Minu. Enjoy the rest of our programs.